Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. If you are new here, my name is Property Sue. I do videos related to real estate, anything surrounding real estate and real estate investment. Today I'm going to be talking about short-term renting, which is popularly known as Airbnb, and this video is going to be in two segments. The first one will be the investment strategy, how you can get into Airbnb and what to do in Airbnb, and second will be the pricing strategy and how to maximize profits when you get into Airbnb. So I'm really hoping by the end of this you will have learned one or two things about Airbnb or short-term renting. I know because of the situation and the pandemic, right now Airbnb is not right now short-term renting is not very active, but we are hopeful that when it comes back you will have learned about how you can go into such business. And yes, let's get into the video. So first things first, we want to learn what is behind Airbnb. How did the people who came up with Airbnb come up with Airbnb? Airbnb basically stands for air, bed, and breakfast. And the story behind it is that once upon a time, in the city of San Francisco, there were two college students named Brian Chesky and Joseph Gebbia, and they had rented an apartment in San Francisco, which they were struggling to pay. So there was a conference in the city and all the hotels had been booked, and they came up with this idea of letting out their apartment for the days in which the conference was going. So they went and bought 3 air mattresses, came and put into their apartment and rented it out for that period, and they made some money. And that is how they started doing the business of looking for houses and furnishing them and putting them for short-term rent. Later on, they were joined by Nathan, the other name I can't pronounce, but it is here. And the three gentlemen are the people behind Airbnb. So basically their story is very long, and if you're interested you can go look it up online. It is there. A very interesting story of start where you are with what you have. And the reason why many people are using Airbnb while traveling is because it provides the comfort of home and space. So for instance, if you're traveling with your children, you feel better living in a home setting other than living in a hotel. Of course, there are many other apps similar to Airbnb, but I am really familiar with Airbnb, so we are going to be talking about short-term renting against Airbnb, but you can also go and look up the rest like booking.com and others. In regards to investing in Airbnb, I'm going to give you 3 tips. Number 1, do not look for the usual spots, because many people assume that because for instance you have a house in Nairobi or Mombasa, it would be more profitable than in other smaller towns. But such is not the case, because profit depends on the maintenance costs, the mortgage payments you're making for the unit in which you're in, the availability of hotels in the area which you have set up in, and the price of hotels. Because you will find that in areas where there are many affordable hotels, Airbnb sometimes will not do so well. But in places where there are higher priced hotels, Airbnb will perform better. But there can also be another case scenario where maybe there are hotels, but there is so much demand for hotels, and when the hotels fill up, some people will prefer using Airbnb. Number 2 is related to number 1, in that not all locations are equal. So the income you get from your Airbnb will vary depending on where you're located and circumstances surrounding that location. For instance, you might find that you might be in a town where Airbnb doesn't normally perform so well, but an event arises and there is a sudden demand for accommodation, and you're going to find yourself getting more from your premise during that time in comparison to somebody else who normally does so well. So location is not equal. And also number 3, I feel like all the three of them are closely related, is that some spots have like lower profits because, as I said, of high rents. For instance, if you're Airbnb an apartment along Thika Road and another apartment in Westlands, like the rents obviously are going to vary, and you might find yourself making more income from the apartment in Thika Road, just because Thika Road and Westlands have the same accessibility, but there are some people who won't mind being in either location, provided that you have selected a certain part of Thika Road that is appealing to high-end clientele, or you have made your apartment a bit luxurious. So you might find yourself making more profit on the Thika Road apartment than the Westlands apartment, but it highly depends on the individual. So it's up to you to make a wise choice, to look for advice from people who are familiar with the business, and in that way you're going to find yourself doing better than maybe if you just immediately thought that maybe Airbnb in Westlands that's better than Airbnb in maybe Thika Road. All businesses have advantages and disadvantages. So we are going to look at the advantages and disadvantages of the Airbnb business. And the first advantage is that it is more attractive and hence profitable than traditional renting, because charges are on a nightly basis, and another advantage is that you have diversified tenants. It means that every short-term renter that comes to your premises is different. Therefore, the risk involved in them not paying you does not affect your overall income or very immensely, as opposed to if you have one tenant and the tenant one day just decides to up and go with maybe your rent, and you don't know where to find them. The diversified portfolio of Airbnb is very good, because if one client does not completely affect the outcome of your income. Another advantage is that the rental rates on Airbnb are adjustable according to the season. So if there is a high demand for Airbnb during a certain time, you could adjust your rents up, and if there is low demand, you could adjust your rent down. So it is very favorable, and meaning that you're not destined to get the same amount of money for your apartment throughout the year. Airbnb also has a smart pricing tool that you can use in order to determine the favorable rent during a certain period or for a certain location. And the final advantage is that listing is free. There is no amount of money that is charged when you're going to list your apartment. Now, moving on to the disadvantages. Number one is that the cost of maintaining an Airbnb or a short-term rental is higher, because you as the owner are solely responsible for any damages or breakages that occur in your apartment, as opposed to maybe a traditional renter who would fix some of those damages on your own. Another disadvantage is irregular income, because you won't like have your short-term rental occupied throughout the year. Like now when we have a pandemic, I know many people who have invested in Airbnb are being affected, so are many other businesses. So let us base it on the fact that your apartment won't be occupied 24/7, which is sometimes even intentional, because after you have one guest, you can't immediately book another. You have to like allow yourself like 1-2 days in order to get the apartment back to an occupiable state. So yeah, your apartment won't be occupied all the time. Number 4 is that you might need insurance to mitigate the damages on your property, because if you're not the one who is solely responsible, who is living in your house and solely responsible for your stuff, there might be damages to that. But in most cases, the damages are small. I would not say that it is anything that is worth insuring, but sometimes if you want to like take all the necessary precautions, you could insure your property against damage. So what we can take away from all this is that the short-term rental business is very lucrative, but it also depends on your reputation as a owner, which gives you good reviews, and good reviews attract more clients for you throughout the year. If you have newly listed your property, sometimes your property might be very nice, but you might be forced to take a smaller amount for it at first in order to build your portfolio. So and then after you build your reputation, then this will attract more clientele. Also, furnishing your apartment is a major thing in this industry. You have to ensure it is nice and modern and cozy, no matter how big or small, and then take professional photographs and put them online, because you could have a very nice apartment, then the photos you've put online are not well lit, they are not they are not from the right angle. So make sure you take professional photos, put them on the platform, and this is bound to attract more clients for you. So if you're willing to do the work and you're patient enough, this is a very good business. And if you have any questions or anything to add on to what I've said, comment down below. Thank you for watching till the end. Remember to like this video, share and subscribe. Until next time, bye.